Agent Morris, but the NSA...
There is something real here.
Did you believe that our government is in possession of UAPs?
Absolutely, based on interviewing over 40 witnesses over 4 years.
And where?
I know the exact locations, and those locations were provided to the Inspector General and some of which to the intelligence committees. I actually had people with the first-hand knowledge provide a protected disclosure to the Inspector General. Biologics came to some of these recoveries.
Those could represent exquisite new adversary technology.
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked to that are currently still in the program.
The government is covering up some level of its knowledge and understanding about what some of those things are.
The Sol Foundation, which just announced a new initiative for UFO research and policy.
It's nuts, man. I mean, we're just small-town buds who saw a UFO in the woods. I mean, now we're hanging out with the government.
Wow. What floor were you guys on?
Welcome aboard, everybody. This is Miles Lewis. You are tuned in to yet another live edition of Anomaly Now, straight out of Austin, Texas. This is the weekly media and news roundup for the 501c3 nonprofit charity community organization known as the Anomaly Archives, aka Scientific Anomaly Institute. Thank you for joining us live or Memorex, however you listen, watch, read, bleed, whatever. We appreciate you. Please like and subscribe, all that good stuff, and comment in the comments below if you like. Or better yet, go to our website, anomalyarchives.org, and there is a page for each episode of the show, and that's where we post the news links for each episode's show notes, and it usually takes about a day. And also it takes about a day for the audio version to roll out. Well, it's been a couple of weeks since we had our last show. Took a week off, and because it was just over a week and a half ago, we had this great presentation by our good friend Michael Hughes, The Truth About Witchcraft. Man, that was a great presentation. If you didn't get to see that, it is available to Patreon members of the Anomaly Academy Cadet tier or higher, and you can go to where is it? You can go to our Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/Anomaly Archives, and you can find out more about the various levels that we have. It's a $10 or month or higher level at which you get access to the live monthly presentations that you can participate in, as well as the growing back catalog of material of past meetings, past Patreon Anomaly Academy lectures. And or you can subscribe at lower levels and get other perks, or you can just subscribe and join for free. Anything helps. We appreciate you no matter how you subscribe. Well, you can go to our flipboard.com/@Anomaly Archives and click the link there, and you'll get to this page where there are thousands and thousands of flipped articles. Man, we're fast approaching 25,000 page flips with over 12,000 stories amongst those. There's a ton of stuff. We are not going to get to all of this. Haven't had the chance to read this, but over at Ars Technica, Google created a new AI model for talking to dolphins. That sounds interesting. That could really have relevance and kind of mirror some of the things talked about in Diana Pasulko's second UFO-related book, Encounters, where she talks about the prospect of communicating with non-human intelligence in HI. There's also this touching obituary for Charles Tart over at the Academy for the Advancement of Post-Materialist Science. That's pretty cool. And though Charles Tart will be missed, I mentioned his passing in a previous episode. Very sad, but he certainly contributed a lot to the scene. Well, there is a ton of stuff that you can find at our Flipboard, but I want to just real quickly start going through the things that I have selected for tonight's show. Hey, if you're in the Austin area, if you're in Central Texas, maybe you'd want to join us. There is a meetup group that's not an official Anomaly Archives meetup group. It's called the Austin Disclosure Meetup Group. And our new good friend David S. is having the third event, and that's Beers and Alien Cheers. And you can find out more about that over at meetup.com/ and just search for Austin Disclosure Meetup Group. This one's going to be at the same location I think we were. Oh, no, it's at a different location than we were at last time. It's at Lazarus Brewing Company up on Airport Boulevard. So that is tomorrow night, starting at 7 p.m. Central Daylight Time. So, hey, would love to meet you and talk all things UFO, UAP, weird, paranormal, that sort of thing. If you're looking for more experiential stuff, you might be interested in this new group. This is a group that practices, as best I can gather, the Stephen Greer style of contact protocols, and they are called the Austin CE5 Alien Meetup Group. They have just formed their group on Meetup and have already garnered almost 30 members. Haven't made it to any of the events yet, but looking forward to meeting folks there. And you can check that out over at meetup.com. So, of course, the biggest news is regarding the UAP Disclosure Fund's airing of a live stream of a hearing. He does air quotes, scare quotes. I'm not sure if this is technically qualifies as a actual hearing in the political sense. It was, I believe, held in a specific governmental facility, but this is part of the GOP oversight, Anna Paulina Luna's task force on government transparency and revealing secrets that's supposedly going to cover everything from the JFK, RFK, MLK assassinations to COVID to 9/11 to the Epstein client list to UAP, UFOs, supposedly. Well, on May 1st, they had their big event. It was a nearly 4-hour long series of panel discussions. Definitely got a lot of attention, at least among the UFO crowd, myself included, and didn't disappoint. Well, maybe it disappointed a little. Well, let's before we dive into that, I do want to encourage folks to go to Tanner F. Boyle's Getting Spooked blog. That's Tanner F. Boyle, BOYLE.substack.com. I've been encouraging folks to check out Tanner's work. He really is a researcher after my own heart, in so much as he is seemingly a true Fortean, someone interested in just all the strangeness in the world, a la Charles Fort. And but he is particularly interested in looking at UFOs, somewhat of the paranormal, but specifically UFOs through a parapolitical lens, darkly. This is something that obviously resonates with me. Anybody who's followed my work in this field over the many decades, or over the few decades, many years, knows that as much as I believe that there is a likely possible non-human intelligence consciousness at the heart of the UFO phenomenon, I do take a pluralistic approach and think that there's a lot of different ways that one can explore these realms of the UFO. You can use the UFO, as Charles Fort would say, measuring a circle is done beginning anywhere. And his recent State of the UFO Union, is really, really powerful. If you use the Substack app, you can actually use the audio feature whereby it will read the article to you. That's how I enjoyed it on a walk a few days ago. This one came out on April 23rd. State of the UFO Union: 2, losing the magic, forgetting class consciousness, worshiping false UAP idols, and left wondering where to go from here. Now, this does get rather political, and I'm not going to go too heavy into it, but suffice to say, I found myself really in so much agreement, as often is the case with Tanner's work. In it here, he says, Tanner wrote, I wrote on my concerns about this trend in the prior State of the Union address, noting how oftentimes these thought leaders came from the world of military intelligence or other DoD arenas. I'm probably testing the patience of any casual reader with these constant reminders, but it is an issue that remains prominent and unaddressed despite all my chastising into the void. The UFO issue is a trifecta for anyone trying to accomplish pro-America goals. 1. The UFO topic is a comfortable distraction away from more materially pressing issues like healthcare or the average person's financial stability. It has not previously been relegated to tabloids out of sheer ridiculousness, but because it is a subject that can instill obsession in people, making them forget about the world outside of shadowy government programs, the mostly fictional kind, and remarkable technology. UFOs are a topic that feels momentous and consequential. There is a power to that. 2, the subject is broadly pro-military, many officials serving as important witnesses or advocates. Even UAP activist and rock star Tom DeLonge admitted in his book, Secret Machines, that To the Stars Academy was, quote, was fundamentally, quote, a project that could help the youth lose their cynical views of the government and the Department of Defense. Sidebar here, that is more or less the quote that I have been touting since at least 2017, when the almost exact quote was found within a WikiLeaks email between Tom DeLonge and some of his military industrial complex cronies, or at least military people serving currently in the military. Sorry, there is a helicopter circling. I don't know if it's black and unmarked. It's probably just the police. Hopefully they won't be busting down the door any second. Continuing Tanner Boyle's breakdown of these 3 points. Number two, the current UFO culture has made many individuals diehard fans of military personnel and substantially underplays American war crimes or other dubious activity at home and abroad. 3, the UFO also represents an onslaught from a technologically advanced force that could conceivably be unfriendly. Every Cold War needs an archenemy, and while few are champing at the bit for any direct conflict with China, the UFO threat is an excellent soft nudge towards worrying about incursions on American airspace. We've seen it from believers and skeptics alike. Even if the UAP craft are earthly, shouldn't we be concerned about combating Chinese or Russian military capability? Now, there's a lot more here, and he goes into a lot of what I have and others have been expressing concern over, which is the tech bro oligarchy, tech broocracy that seems to be a part of this digital coup takeover, where these characters like Elon Musk and Peter Thiel seem to really be sowing all kinds of seeds within the UFO community. Let's see, I'll read a little bit of this. So he goes on, he mentions this recent Hereticon event and how people like Nick Pope and other UFO folks were there. But as I was revealed recently during the Rice University Archives of the Impossible event during Carl Nell's presentation, Nell mentioned that he and Diana Pasolka were both participants at the Hereticon put on by Peter Thiel. And, you know, you can draw your own conclusions, but I would encourage folks to read this entire state of the UFO Union. And another resource I would encourage folks to perhaps read to help them navigate the weirdness. That's our friend Eric Davis. Eric with a K, not to be confused with Eric with a C Davis, who we'll be getting to shortly. Yes, it gets confusing with the Eric Davises, but Eric Davis with a K is a very amazing, highly weird fellow who I encourage all of you read his many works, including his classic Technosis with a G for the gnosis. This recent post over at his burningshore.com post, Hard Raindrops Navigating the Weirdness, just goes into some recent presentations that he did at a recent retreat. He has links to those videos. Those are also available up here, right, in the Flipboard, How to Navigate the Weirdness with Eric Davis, from 2 different dates. And let's see what I wanted to, let's see. So part of this essay says, these emotional maelstroms of nausea and vertigo are also by design, which means that facing the authentic reality of our feelings rather than burying ourselves in distraction, including the near distractions of doom scrolling and social media outrage, is only half the battle. We have little choice, it seems, but to also develop practices that, however we act on and in the world, also work inwardly and cannily with our attitudes, modes of awareness, and roiling emotions. This is not self-help, let alone self-realization. It is survival, or at least sanity. This is the long haul, folks. The hard rain is here, and the storm will last for the foreseeable future, which admittedly is not that foreseeable. I am worried about the world, but I am also worried about us. Can we keep it together for ourselves and for those around us? Can we hold open the creative capacity to respond to the extraordinary demands of the time without losing our minds, let alone our souls? So I humbly offer up a few of the tactics and maxims I brought up in my talk, already reworked, rewritten, and still incomplete. These aren't solutions or commandments, but goads, probes, and slapdash hopes. I hope some of them land. So again, you can watch the entire presentations on YouTube, and you can also go to his burningshore.com website and see the rest of this, including these headlines. Attention is a martial art. Mix your feels, concretize and subtleize. Keep your cool and cultivate foxhole humor. Yeah, hang in there. Form posses. Yes. Have Andre the Giant as your wingman and enjoy the weird. Well, yes, that's over at burningshore.com. Eric Davis, Eric with a K. I highly recommend everything of his. Now, jumping directly into the UFOs, there's a ton of stuff. There's so many awesome videos in the Flipboard feed for you to dive into and experience. This one is from January of this year, from Jeremy Corbell's channel. You know, as much as I would definitely justifiably criticize Jeremy Corbell, I do like him and I like his work, even as I find a lot of the quote unquote new UFO videos that he gets released to be pretty unimpressive and often pretty mundane, like so much touted by these, dare we say, 2017ers. But this video, UFO Revolution, what really happened at the UFO hearing on their weaponized podcast, episode number 65, is clearly it's from a live event where the presenter, what is this fellow's name? I'm not familiar with the presenter, but they're talking about this Tubi, where you can watch on Tubi, that was produced by TMZ. This show, UFO Revolution. I haven't seen all of it, but I've seen portions of it and found a lot of it very interesting. And of course, this is where Jeremy Corbell has aired his beef with the issue surrounding the UAP hearings from last year that involved the revelations about Immaculate Constellation, this document and alleged whistleblower that he brought forth, but which in the hearings it was made to appear that journalist Michael Schellenberger was the one who brought this forth. And this, as Corbell and others say, this is not about getting credit for bringing that forth. He feels that there is a larger issue at play here and that it is connected to a game of subterfuge going on. I'll leave that for you to decide. But another video I had not seen, but that just came out This actually, it's about less than 30 minutes. It's an interesting conversation with the moderator, Jules Urbach, who apparently they've had on their show, and he is having Jeremy and George Knapp on his show at this event, RenderCon. The panel discussion called Non-Human Intelligence and ASI Into the Unknown. So it's a lot about artificial intelligence and UFOs and NHI, non-human intelligence. And again, they start teasing what is to come next for them, which is, of course, these new Part 1 and Part 2 weaponized episodes 74 and 75 that are specifically about Immaculate Constellation and this new alleged UFO whistleblower, the person behind that Immaculate Constellation document. This too is quite a bit to digest, and there is, of course, Michael Schellenberger is making the rounds again as well, talking about this. It's unclear. Schellenberger keeps dipping his toe in the UFO thing, and as I reported some time back, he was supposed to be the keynote speaker at the MUFON symposium, but then that didn't happen. So not sure what's behind that, or as some allege that Schellenberger is just a lobbyist for various right-leaning interests. But at the same time, I find all of this reportage interesting, and you can go to our anomalyarchives.org website, and in our collections and files section, you can search for Immaculate Constellation and find this page with lots of links to information new and old about the Immaculate Constellation claims. Now, another video that's dropped recently is another Joe Rogan 3-hour extravaganza, this time with Dr. Hal Puthoff. That's Harold E. Puthoff. And if you're not familiar with him, well, you must have just gotten into this field, because he has been around since the 70s. I have known about him at least since the late 80s, possibly mid 80s. And mainly because of his work at Stanford Research Institute, SRI, out in California, where he was doing public science research into psychic remote viewing with folks like Uri Geller and Ingo Swann. But of course, in the early 1990s, the revelations came out that, lo and behold, that was in fact just the tip of the iceberg, and that there was in fact government intel funded secret research into utilizing psychic remote viewing for intelligence gathering purposes. And there has been so much more learned about this since then. Well, over at our page for Hal Puthoff, you can find more information, including this links to the recent Joe Rogan interview. And if you can stand the host, then you might enjoy it. But there's definitely a lot of interesting information buried in there. And Hal is one of these people who has just been at the heart of so many interesting, weird studies, like I say, from the psychic remote viewing research in the 1970s to his ongoing research into advanced frontier fringe physics in the form of ZPE research, zero-point energy, this idea that we could possibly, and maybe the UFOs, use some kind of technology to tap into this vast energy reserve that is the 0-point energy. And whatever you think of that, he continues to find a voice and a place to do his research in so many of these realms. He, of course, is one of the people featured in the new documentary that is yet to be widely released, The Age of Disclosure, which premiered recently at the South by Southwest Film Festival here in Austin. This picture of him with Gary Nolan, Rear Admiral Tim Gallaudet, the director Dan Farrar, Carl Nell, who we were mentioning, and Jim Semivan out there in front of the Paramount Theater where it premiered. And then it made me dig up these pictures. Well, the fellow, I'm sad to report, I only just learned this week of the passing of a dear friend, a true seeker in the world of the strange, and a political activist that's how I met this individual. My good friend Stan Shaw has passed away. Stan and I met defending the Constitution, trying to counter things like the Patriot Act in the wake of September 11th, 2001, here locally. That's how we met. And then we discovered that, hey, we both had interests in UFOs, the paranormal, the occult, the mystical, the metaphysical. And we both attended this event featuring Hal Puthoff that was at an interesting place in West Austin called Omega at the Crossings. That's a whole other story, but it was a great presentation about remote viewing. But then he did a kind of unofficial off the books discussion Q&A about UFOs. And I'm so glad to have known Stan and to have attended this event with him and friends and family of his. So, and Stan had donated materials to the Anomaly Archives. He donated a whole just bunch of magazines and paper files, and we may be receiving some of his personal library books, hopefully. He was also really good friends with our also deceased really good friend, Rob Riggs, the paranormal Bigfoot researcher whom we've talked about many, many times. So, moving on, though. Back to the UAP disclosure funds and the Anomaly-NOW UAP task force. So you can find out more about this organization, the UAP Disclosure Fund, at uapdisclosurefund.org. And there you can find links to information about their activities and their board of directors. And let's see. Yes, here's some of them. Board of directors. Oh, Christopher Mellon, Jordan Flowers, Yuan Fung, and Lester Nair. Lester Nair, tech and real estate entrepreneur, co-founder, and it says founder of the UAP caucus. That's interesting. Oh, and Anna Brady Estevez. She's one of the speakers. Chris Mellon, Anna Brady, Tim Gaiade, and Mike Gold, they were all presenters at the event that we're going to talk about here in a second. And Avi Loeb, Kirk McConnell was there. Wow, these are some interesting people. But if you go to their website, you'll find the newly released better quality video that I was joking about. So when the original, so the new version of the file has been much cleaned up and edited. It's slightly shorter. They edited out some of the long bad parts, but there was really, this is what people were joking about, there was just really terrible audio and video production for the live stream. The live stream, was 3 hours, 43 minutes. And interestingly enough, in that version, it got a climate change warning from YouTube because of comments by Tim Gaiade, the Rear Admiral and oceanographer. As some have said, he's kind of running cover for the climate change deniers, though he said he is far from one. But so besides, just to stick to some of the negatives here, besides the really terrible audio and the really bad, they didn't do the white balance correctly, so the colors were washed out, and it was a little, it was hard to watch and listen to. But they, like I said, they did put out a better version finally. Thank you. But one of the other things that got a lot of negative attention was this part here at about the hour and 40-minute mark. At the beginning of the second session, they did 3 panels discussions, each on different topics, science and technology, that sort of thing. Yes, sorry, Lou. Why, Lou? Why? For at least the third time now, Lou has inexplicably presented evidence, quote unquote, of UFOs that he did not properly vet. And so and he said as he was showing this that this hasn't been vetted, but that it basically he had been given permission to show it. This is alleged to be a photograph of a UFO taken by a commercial airline pilot while in a plane of a massive saucer-shaped object casting a shadow on the ground. No, folks, those are two different circular irrigation fields in a farming community. And this is not the first time that kind of mistake has been made in the UFO field, where a photograph gives the impression of one thing, but turns out to be something really prosaic. But of course, if you've watched this show before, you may have seen us reporting on Lou just several months ago, I guess last year, presenting a photo that's become described as the chandelier UFO, because it kind of looked like the UFO from the classic Close Encounters grand finale ending. But no, in fact, it was a picture that was obviously of a chandelier in the room reflecting on the glass, but making it appear that it was hovering in the sky outside the window. Again, classic misidentification image, but there are other instances where Lou Elizondo, this supposed government UFO researcher, has made these really sloppy mistakes. And, he does apologize. He has issued a nearly 8-minute apology video and a brief apology tweet on x.com. But he does say, I hope this doesn't detract from it. I take full responsibility, at least in the video. He doesn't quite do that in the tweet. But yes, he's taking a lot of flack about this because it just keeps happening. And one has to wonder, if he's this sloppy, what is his credibility? Now, I still harbor the hope that he is as sincere and earnest as he tries to appear. But as I've said before, I have all kinds of issues with Elizondo. And, as much as I might vaunt people like my ufological hero, Jacques Vallée, even our heroes can have missteps, but, and we shouldn't put all of our eggs in one basket in terms of UAP idols, false idols. Anyway, over at the UAP Disclosure Fund's YouTube channel, they have finally released all these the better audio and better video edited versions of the Understanding UAP hearing, and have subdivided them into different parts, including the science panel with Avi Loeb and Tim Gaidet, as well as the national security panel with Christopher Mellon, and then the Understanding UAP innovation panel with Mike Gold and what did I say her name is? Amanda. Anyway, it's might be worth watching. I didn't find it that interesting. It was a nice try, but really it's good that they did put out some better versions of this. It makes all the difference in the world. But perhaps the thing that got the most attention of a good nature was this footage of Eric Davis with a C, Eric Davis, going on and on as he's sitting next to Anna Luna. And then I think she had to leave and he continued, but he spilled the beans on so much. He just talked about all these things that we've been hearing about that have come out, and basically the kind of stuff that he's been talking about in terms of the Eric Wilson memo. And that may be a bit too inside baseball for casual UFO interested person. But suffice to say, Eric Davis has worked with Hal Puthoff for years. He was part of, I I'm not sure if he was part of NIDS, the National Institute for Discovery Science, that was Bigelow's first big organization, but he was definitely part of, I believe, all the OSAP, ATIP, NIDS 2.0, this Pentagon UFO group that Lou Elizondo and others were party to. But he had some great and interesting things to say. Yeah, well, sorry, Lou. Sorry, not sorry. All right. Yeah, so you can go to anomalyarchives.org and find our page for that hearing with links to all this information. And these videos are also all posted in our Flipboard. As I say, there is a ton of other great stuff. DHS briefing details select drone sightings in New Jersey, highlights potential misidentifications among 5,000 plus reports. This is all material, of course, obtained through FOIA requests by John Greenwald of the Black Vault, and some of these other news articles I've already mentioned, but there's just a ton of other great stuff. Michael Swords, a UFO historian over at kufos.org, that's the Center for UFO Studies that was founded by J. Allen Hynek. They have a really great classic UFO case called Peeking into the Corners of 1952, Part 1. This other UFO incident, I don't even know how to say that, Port Glennon incident over at Isle of Weird. And DefenseScoop.com has these two interesting articles: new UAP legislation in the works as Congress prepares for more hearings. That was before that hearing occurred. And then this other one, former defense officials raised concerns about unexplained drone and UAP threats to U.S. airspace. A couple of interesting Nessie-related articles, some historic documents from back in, I think, 1938 that show that local police officers were trying to protect Loch Ness Monster from harpoon-wielding mob. Not that they intervened in an actual sighting case, as far as I know, but they were not too keen on a mob going around trying to shoot quote-unquote creatures in the loch. A lot of other interesting news headlines, like early human species lived across more of the world than was thought, over at the irishtimes.com. And, you know, artificial intelligence and the problem of deep fakes and hoaxing just continues to be a problem. There's a couple of articles that I did want to point folks to. This one at the scottishsun.co.uk, Loch Ness Monster tourism bosses hire experts to weed out fake AI sightings. Oh, right. That's great. We need people with skills in discerning deep fakes from fact. And that's just going to become harder and harder. I've seen some amazing cryptid animations online. And I usually can tell that they're fake, but they look very, very realistic. All kinds of great links. This breakthrough gravity explanation is a step closer to the theory of everything. This over at Science Alert. And, you know, this video, no huge revelations in this, but there's a panel discussion that was held at the Linda Hall Library featuring friend and professor of history Greg Agigian, who we're going to be interviewing sometime in the coming months, finally, titled Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena in a Scientific Context. And it's a nice, relaxed conversation with Marine fighter pilot Alex Dietrich there. You see pictured another researcher who's very much the skeptic, and then you've got Greg Agigian. And the moderator is Nadia Drake, a science journalist and the daughter of Frank Drake, the creator of the Drake equation, which is pretty cool. And again, not anything that revelatory in it, but I watched it today, and all the way at the end, Alex Dietrich, in response to one of the children in the audience's questions about abductions and tractor beams, launches into mentioning how there was a neurologist in Hawaii who was approached by a number of patients that all seemed to have some of the same symptoms and who all were self-described alien abductees. And I don't know if he was a UFO researcher prior to this, but she says he ended up helping her. And this rang a bell, but I was like, what is she talking about? Is she talking about Kit Green, or is she talking about Gary Nolan, both of whom are have done research on military personnel who've had brain injuries and other injuries associated with close encounters of UFO, UAP, that also mimicked symptoms of Havana syndrome. And so I was trying to figure out who she was talking about, and that's when I found information I had forgotten. Some people have complimented me on my memory, but it definitely is not as good as it used to be. Well, I had forgotten that back in 2015, there was a rash of articles about Dr. Michael B. Russo, a neurologist working with abductees in Hawaii, circa 2015. And here are links to some of those articles from various news outlets, not least of which is our friends over at the Daily Grail. Red Pill Junkie, Miguel Romero, wrote an article about aliens under the scanner, similarities found in brains of alleged abductees. And this is, again, from June of 2015. I'm like, wow, this is great. I totally had forgotten about this. And then right there at the bottom, thanks to Mike Cleland and Stephen Miles Lewis. You're welcome. Anyway, so there's a ton of news over at our Flipboard that you can continue looking at, including, I was talking about fakes and hoaxes. That we haven't, there's an article over there. Gosh, where is that? There we go. Somewhere here in the Flipboard. I'm not sure. There's just so many articles. Is one titled Australian Radio Station Secretly Used an AI Host for 6 months. You know how AI can create synthetic speech. Well, some radio station decided to have fun with that, and for at least 6 months was doing this, and most people were none the wiser. There are a ton of, as we were saying in a previous episode, tons of podcasts on YouTube now where they're completely contrived using things like Google's Notebook LM, large language model, AI systems, and then using text-to-speech generators and just creating completely new content. But there's also an article about the fake California coelacanth. That's the classic prehistoric fish that is another aspect of modern cryptozoology. And it turns out that the photo was a fake. Surprise, surprise. But it fooled a lot. And it's just, that's the thing. Once these things get out there, they just get regurgitated no matter how many times Snopes or some other fact checker debunks it. But before we end, there's just so much else stuff. So many good articles. Near-death experiences radically change how people view their careers. There's this brief article by Diana Pasulka, The Disclosure Debunking Schedule. This great interview with Kelly Chase. This UFO story can be wacky and wild adventure. Let's find out why. But what was I gonna? There was something. Oh, here we go. How about 2 hours of just weird surveillance footage of children running through the streets at night? 2 hours and 17 minutes. So this is an unlisted video on the official Warner Brothers YouTube channel. And it's a lot of the same footage, but it's literally just this same footage of children running through the streets at night, like Ring camera, doorbell camera, surveillance camera. Now, I don't know if you can kind of see this, but there's a face and shoulders. So it's as if this is a recording of someone watching this on a screen, and you can see the reflection of the person in the screen. Well, clearly this is some kind of viral stealth marketing for a new movie coming out from Warner Brothers. And lo and behold, that is in fact a movie called Weapons. And I only found out about this from this website, Movie Maker Magazine. Weapons, creepy unlisted YouTube video shows 2 hours of children running through the night. And the official trailer is out there. You can watch it. I definitely want to see this movie. It's very creepy. I think there's all kinds of interpretations about where this is going. Oh, I just realized there's a whole bunch of other tabs I didn't get to, including this one. Valet, UFO disclosure could trigger complex religious security questions. This is a video where George Knapp interviews our favorite UFO researcher, Jacques Vallée. Highly recommend that. There's also over at the Cato Institute, that bastion of quote unquote think tankness, the cato.org, UFOs, aliens, and national security. This is about a 45 or 50-minute interview with somebody who I find very interesting, Alexander Wendt, talking about his new books, The Last Humans, UFOs, and National Security. Very interesting discussion that you may want to check out. Anyway, that's going to be it, folks. I appreciate you tuning in. And again, if you're not already subscribed, please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Go to our flipboard.com/Anomaly Archives, or excuse me, patreon.com/Anomaly Archives page. And hey, join for free, or if you can, join for $1 a month or $2 a month, or hey, $10 a month gets you access to these wonderful events. And we've got coming up later this month. I think it's going to be Saturday the 23rd or 26th or whatever. Is Adam Gorightly presenting the Bob Beck collection, Space Age Photos from the Past. Bob Beck is a very interesting figure that I can't wait to learn more about. I knew about him because of his wild ideas about psychotronics, electromagnetic warfare, mind control kind of stuff. But when I knew about all that, I did not know that he was photographing all the contactees from back in the day, like all the big giant rock UFO convention. Just fascinating stuff. Can't wait. Well, again, thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting us. And that's going to be it. Good night.